Hello, everyone's Forest Focus. A depressingly familiar tale against Midtjylland last night as Nottingham Forest are wasteful in front of goal and get punished. Can they break the pattern, end a miserable home run and defy some damning stats in a game they really can't afford to lose against Fulham? Joining me to discuss that and preview the game in full, it's great to welcome first Mikey Clarke. Mikey, afternoon, mate. How are you?
Yeah, afternoon, everybody. I'm fine. I'm dried off after yesterday. That was horrific. It's like a scene from The Wizard of Oz, wasn't it? At some stage, it was absolutely horrific, and that's not even what was on the pitch. But yeah, I'm all right, thank you.
Good to have you with us. Dan Cook, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Shall we skip the niceties and just get straight on with the face cream chat and see what everyone's favourite brand is and, who wears it, who doesn't, all that stuff, all the important stuff.
We'll get to face cream. We will mention it because it's blown up overnight, certainly. Omari Hutchinson's comments. Emily Williamson, good to have you back after a while. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Sorry, I've not been on the pod for ages because I've been so busy with work. So it's really nice to be back, although Forest fortunes haven't turned since I was last on. So that's a shame. But yeah, and also every day I wear Factor 50. So I'm here with Omari. I stand with him.
Yeah, I'm supposed to, but I don't. So I'll have to
Naughty.
join Omari, I think. Yeah, I know. Who should kick us off? Dan, kick us off. What did you make of last night in general? Then we'll branch out from there.
I think you captured it on the post match. It just felt familiar, very familiar kind of game where we did have quite a bit of the ball. We did have a lot of the ball in the final third, but came away without any goals. Happened quite a few times. I think you can go all the way back to like that West Ham game at the start of the season. Very similar, lots of the ball, and then we didn't do anything with it, and then the opposition go and score a goal on the break, and that's kind of obviously how it went. We did create enough, I thought, to score 2 goals in another game if we played that again. I think the chances were there, but the final decision was wrong. And we probably could have created better chances with the rest of the possession we had as well. So, the conditions didn't help insofar as I said before the game, once you saw what the weather was like, it's not going to be, obviously a good game of football. It's going to be a bit scrappy and it's probably going to be a 1-goal one. And overall in the tie, I expected them to probably score a couple of goals across the 2 games, either set pieces or something. So, it's not a million miles away from what I expected, but we did enough to get a goal or 2. So frustrating in that respect, and it doesn't address some of the worries that we hoped with a week on the training pitch that we might have addressed, I think.
Yeah, it's the same problems no matter the manager, in the sense of we can't score a goal, Mikey. Although we have done under Pereira, we scored 3 v Fenerbahce and 3 good ones over 2 games against Brighton and City. But the general themes remain. When you look at Pereira, do you think there's anything he can be doing different? Can he be squeezing any more juice out of these players, or is it all over to them now?
I think it's a tale that's been told throughout the season. So I don't think anybody that's been here 5 minutes is totally responsible for it. There are little tweaks I think he can do, and we might explore that when we look at our teams for Sunday. 1 or 2 things I wasn't that impressed with yesterday. I just think it's just so familiar. I said to Lindsay, my wife, at half time, we'll lose this 1-0 because I've just seen this over and over again all season. We play well. We're ever so good in certain periods, and the opposition can't get out their half sometimes, and then it just gets to that final pass or that final shot, or we manage to get in behind them, but the decision's wrong and we just can't put the ball in the net. And unfortunately, it's just been the story of our season. And if we do end up getting relegated this season, with all the turmoil that's gone off, I think the defining factor is we just haven't replaced Chris Wood. We've taken 20 goals out of the season, out of the team, and the ability to link play and to be that focal point and to get us up the pitch. And you can talk about Alanga as well. He's a huge miss, but we just haven't got a striker that can score. Jesus has done fine in the Europa League. It wasn't his night last night, but my worry is the 9 games we have left. Who's going to put the ball in the back of the net? So it was an all too familiar tale. The weather was horrible. The tie's not over. It is half time. So, teams have been known to come back from a 1-goal. And actually, if it was 0-0, I'd have fancied us over there. I genuinely would have done. It's going to be tough now, but we've just got to find a way of putting the ball in the net. And sometimes you watch them, and I watched them yesterday, and I'm thinking, if they get 1, they might get 2 or 3, but they just can't seem to get ahead in games, and they can't seem to find that killer touch, and it's been plaguing us all season. And I'm genuinely worried, because when we stayed up in the first couple of seasons, we had a Taiwo, then we had a Chris Wood. Who have we got now? We've got Morgan that's captaining and trying to score goals, but he's a number 10. He's a midfielder. We're really struggling, and I am genuinely worried about how we're going to score goals to win games. That's where my head's at. I'm concerned.
We've still got Taiwo. I don't know if he's the answer or not, but we might end up turning to him. We'll come back to strikers briefly. Just quickly going around the room, starting with Emily. We did this last night, and I don't think it was the right panel necessarily for the question. So there's more optimistic fans. Are you going to be gutted if we do go out next week, Emily, or is it a blessing in disguise when you look at Leeds and West Ham having one goal to fight for its promotion versus, win and get momentum, which we have had none of all season? We have built no momentum throughout the whole course of the campaign, bar a couple of games under Dyche. Where do you stand on that?
Well, first of all, I'm agreeing with Mikey this afternoon, so clearly something is wrong with me, because I agreed with everything he said then, and I never agree with you, Mikey. I love you, but I never agree with you. I have to say, last night I wasn't gutted. I was disappointed, but not gutted. So does that suggest that maybe if we do go out, I'm not going to be gutted? I still was pinning my hopes on us potentially winning the Europa League, but the last thing we want to do is win the Europa League and be in the Championship. For me, bread and butter is the Premier League, and I will take 3 points against Fulham and 3 points against Tottenham and get battered in Midtjylland next week. I'll be happy with that. That probably tells you where my head's at. In an ideal world, I would want Forest to progress in Europe, but it just really isn't the time for us, is it? Like I say, last night was hugely disappointing. I agree with everything Mikey said. There was all that beautiful, pretty football, but it's no good if you can't put the ball in the net. And it was just one of those frustrating nights. And I found myself getting frustrated even with the likes of Murillo. Last night was not a night for crossfield passes. Keep them short, keep them tight. I'm not a footballer, but I know that in those conditions, forget all that. Just try and win dirty. And we didn't do that. And Midtjylland did. And fair play to Midtjylland. They played us. They played us well. And also big shout out to their fans as well. I was very close to them. There were not many at all, probably 100 or so, and they were so loud and proud throughout. So they were great, and I think they did as But in terms of the league, I hope we can stay up. But I'm worried. I'm really worried. I think Sunday's crucial. I don't feel confident. We never do well against Fulham, so come Sunday evening, we could be in a really sorry state. But we'll see. We'll see.
I'll continue that conversation about Europa, but Emily referenced the record. Paul Morley sent me the stats since we got promoted via Fulham. The games we Fulham in the Premier League, played 7, 1-1, which was a memorable game where Morgan was brilliant. 1-1, drawn none, lost 6, 4-6 against 15, points 3. 5 of the against came in one game, which was we were obviously absolutely awful in under Cooper. And then the stat Mikey sent me, just to keep cheering people up, we have converted 8.6 of our shots in the Premier League this season, the lowest ratio of any Premier League team. Last 4 home games, 88 shots, 6.4 XG, 1 scored. So the omens aren't good, and we'll come back to that. I'll just quickly ask the other two guys what they think about next week. Dan, how are you feeling about it in terms of your personal motivation for it?
Well, I think that's it, isn't it? As just purely thinking as a fan, obviously there's no way I want us to go into any game thinking, oh, well, it's all right if we just lose this and go out the competition. I can't get into that headspace given all the 30 years since Europe and the time that we've not been at this level. It's very hard to really genuinely go into the games thinking, no, it's fine if we just lose and go out now. The difficulty is if you ask me this question after the Spurs game, let's say we do win these next 2 league games, all of a sudden you'll be thinking, oh, it'd be great to still be in Europe right now because we're so much more comfortable in the league. But at the same time, if you ask me after that and we lose both these next 2 league games, I'll be like, well, yeah, look, let's just write it off because there's just so few games left in the league now to really put the points on the board that maybe we do need to focus on that. And that's the difficulty, is you're caught right in the middle of not knowing, where you're going to be in a couple of weeks' time, because when you're down the bottom, every result in the league makes such a big difference that if you could get those 2 results there, and you're still in Europe going into a quarter-final, we'll almost feel good about where we are for, at least for another couple of weeks, that we've got everything to look forward to. So I don't think I can get to the place where I'm just thinking, yeah, that's fine, let's just write it off. But as someone working in the club, as a manager, as the person that's got to actually do all the work that goes into these games, I'm sure there probably are a few people behind the scenes that are thinking, we could do without having to dedicate 2 or 3 days to a game against Midtjylland rather than spending the full 5 days, preparing for Fulham or Spurs or whatever. So that's the, I suppose, the different viewpoints. As a fan, it's definitely a case of let's see how far we can go, and let's leave it a little bit longer. If we can get that win and stay in the competition, then I'm sort of happy with that. And is it a case of the tiredness and all that? I don't think it is. I mean, you look at the other teams that manage to stay in all these competitions and they play the games, they can handle the games, whether it's teams at the top of the league, obviously like Man City and Arsenal that used to be in there. But you look at Villa. I mean, Villa have played the last 3 seasons in Europe and they still managed to finish in the top 8 every time. Like it doesn't have to be this complete drain and write-off, but the difference is they had the stability, didn't they? They kept the manager, they had the plan, they sort of added to the squad as they need. Whereas really what our problem is that we kind of got it all wrong months ago at the start of the season. And now we're in this position where it feels like the only answer left is to get out of Europe, and that'll save the season almost in the league. And it might happen, it might not. So the question I had back was kind of, if we feel like it's a 50-50 relegation chance now, if we go out of Europe, how much extra sort of optimism does it actually give you about the league? Is it like a small 10% chance, or do you suddenly think, well, actually, we should be fine, in the league if we go out of Europe? Or is it just a clutching at straws kind of thing? And it sort of feels a bit like clutching at straws. But I suppose that's my question back, is how much more confident are you if we go out of Europe that we'll be fine in the league? Or are we sort of sacrificing both, again, because of the problems we created months ago by sort of disrupting everything?
I'll ask Mikey that question in 1 second. Leaders make a good point in the chat that Leeds and West Ham are still in the FA Cup, although they play each other next. So one of them's going out at least. Spurs are in the Champions League for, one more game probably. I can't see them getting through, but you never know. Burns 1722, thank you very much for signing up for membership. Really appreciate that. Tackle Dan's question there, Mikey. Where do you sign it? Because Arsenal, Spurs, City, they basically play 8 or 9 of the same players every week, and they just rotate. I guess they rotate the players that probably need it, which we don't, I don't think, because of our squad balance. So I think that's the only difference. Where do you sit on what Dan says?
Yeah, it's a great point back. I think the scenario Dan paints can be answered if you had a stable season with the same manager and the same group of players and a pre-season, and you hadn't flip-flopped like we have. Unfortunately, we're in a situation now where they're going to have to make some big decisions. I genuinely think that what happens on Sunday will dictate the team that he plays next Thursday. So if we lose to Fulham, I think you'll see a second string on Thursday, without a doubt. If we beat Fulham, I think what might happen is you might see a mix and match like we got yesterday, and see how the game progresses, and then maybe bring one or two of your big hitters on if we've pulled it back. I think that's where we are. I think we're looking at each game individually now. So, we've tried to be really measured on this podcast, even me, which is a rarity, to say that, if you win one game doesn't mean you're staying up. If you lose, doesn't mean you're going down. I genuinely think we're in that position where it kind of does now, because we're into single digits left in the league. If we lose to Fulham or we don't get a good result, and then we lose to Tottenham, we are in serious, serious trouble if we're not already. However, as Dan just painted, the other scenario is if we win both, you're wishing you had. So I genuinely think what happens on Sunday will dictate the plan for Thursday. And I think we're going to go game by game. And that is just the way it is, because we are so precarious. A good result either way, a good week either way, for any of the teams down there will dictate huge decisions, not just on the pitch, but off the pitch. And you talk about Tottenham as well. You talk about West Ham. You talk about us. You even talk about Leeds. They're only one result off, even though they've been playing well. A couple of bad weeks for them. They're in huge trouble too. So I think Sunday is massive. Is it must win? I don't know, but it's certainly not must lose. We've got to get something. And I don't want to write off the European adventure, because we worked so hard to get there. As a city, as its fans, as a team, as a management team, everything. to then just sort of chalk it feels wrong in my head, but my heart is saying this club cannot get relegated. So they're going to have to make some big decisions. For me, it's all about the league. I'm sorry, but it is.
Dave makes a fair point in the chat as well. When we drew with City and played well, we only the third game in a week, and we'd only had 2 days since the Brighton game, 2 days rest. So, yeah, you can argue it's not so much a factor as people might think. Maybe it's more about getting injuries like Jaya Cunha, and we'll come on to that. Just one last thing before we go to a break, Emily, on recruitment. People are looking back on January and saying we got it all wrong with the strikers. I don't know, I'm going to throw a statement and ask you to agree with it, which I get someone in the chat always calls me out for it, but whatever. I think we signed Luca because we signed him for Dyche, and then we sacked Dyche, and Luca's a dud. And it's not necessarily always the recruitment's bad, although some of it has been, but it's been the wrong players to the wrong manager, and now it all plays into the bigger mess. Do you think I'm right, or do you think we just ballsed up January completely by not getting Strand Larsen or Mateta or someone proven?
I think recruitment has been terrible recently. I don't think they've got anything right, which is why the team that Nuno will have played when we were doing well to try and get into Europe are still, barring one or two, the team that are playing now. Luca has done nothing so far to make me think that he's worthy of the signing. All the other signings that we've already talked about haven't been able to really make their mark in the team. I'm not sure what's gone in recruitment. I think clearly everyone's not pulling together. It feels like everyone's going off in their own directions, and there's a scattergun approach still to signings, which isn't working. And that's the reason. It doesn't matter whether Luca was a Dyche signing or not. If he's a striker, if he can head the ball, if he can get the ball in the back of the net, I don't care who he's signed for. But so far, he does not seem to be settling in well. Last night when he came on, he didn't do anything really, did he? And I know there's a lot of love for Dylan Bakwa for what he's done previously with Forest, but again, what I saw last night, I don't see this amazing player in there that everyone's talking about. I feel really sorry for the likes of Hutchinson, but he's too lightweight and he just gets bullied off the ball. I don't want to be that negative person, but a lot of it is down to recruitment, the change of managers that we've talked about, and I think fatigue is a poor excuse because, like you say, the boys can get themselves up for the big games like Arsenal and Man City, but seemingly after 9 days rest, they couldn't get a result against not the best Danish side at home. And I think, we know how bad the home form is. It's really bad. And actually, the fact that we're at home against Fulham on Sunday is not an advantage, really, because there's some things going on that's stopping Forest from performing at home. You can't blame the crowd because the fans were singing. Ended up being 29,000 people there last night. I know it was a Europa game, so it's slightly different to the Premier League. But yeah, I mean, the only thing I can put it down to is we haven't recruited astutely like we did in those earlier seasons. I know obviously the first season we signed loads of players, but we know the reasons for that. I'm not having Luca, and yeah, we've got 11 or 12 players that can be trusted, and the rest they just don't seem to be able to impact games. Last night when I looked at the sub bench, I was like, well, who's impacting the game tonight? Who's going to make a difference? Nobody.
We'll pick up that Luca and strikers conversation when we do team selection, I think. But let's take a word for the Trent Navigation. If you're watching this before 4 p.m, they are showing all the Cheltenham Gold Cup, all the Cheltenham Festival races. It's the Gold Cup today, so you can watch that at the Nav. And then obviously our game against Fulham is at home, so you've got all the build-up with Fothers, the quizzes and everything, and then the match itself is televised. So if you don't have a ticket and want to watch it there, you can do, and then get back to the Nav after. To hopefully celebrate 3 points. I've said that so often this season, and I think we've won 2 home games, maybe, or 3. I don't know. It's not worked anyway. 3. So it's not worked. Let's talk more about Fulham then. Just looking at them, Dan, they've had a good season. They're coming off 2 pretty bad results, one in the FA Cup that really annoyed fans. Just in terms of team news, people have been checking out Harry Wilson. He was quoted, spoke to BBC Wales saying that he's back in training and hopefully he'll play Sunday, were his words, and that he'll be ready for their World Cup qualifying games. Raul Jimenez, sadly, his father died last night, or died very recently. So that's obviously terrible news. But I guess it does make him a doubt for the game. So we'll have to see if he starts. So when how Fulham are shaping up, Dan, versus our historically awful record against them? How are you seeing this game?
It's actually probably one of the worst opponents you could pick when you feel like you need a win, because you sort of see them as a team that you can beat, but they really aren't like a Wolves or a Burnley or even a Spurs at the minute, are they? They are well-oiled, well-drilled, very difficult to beat. Obviously, our record against them kind of tells you that, and they've been good this season. There's a couple of bits of hope, basically, when I looked at their record, that I think maybe we can get something, which is away from home, they're not that good. They're actually below us in the away league table, if you like, at the minute. So they haven't been brilliant away from home. They've only scored like 16 goals from 14 games away from home. So it's going to be a tight game, but it's going to be a difficult game for us, because the emphasis will be on us to try and take the game to them, to do all the stuff we did last night in terms of getting to the final third, getting around the box, looking good. But the impetus is going to be on taking some chances, either a shot from the edge of the box or actually creating a clearer chance. So it's a difficult game because it's going to play on everything that we've struggled to do so far this season. It's not going to be one where we can sit in and just try and smash and grab it. We're going to have to take the game to them, and they're not an easy team to break through or break down. So I give us a chance, but I think a draw is probably the most likely sort of outcome if you look at the two teams, them going away and us at home, and the kind of the pressure around the game for us, and the fact they're probably happy with a point. It's going to be a game where it's up to us to actually break them down and do something a bit special. So yeah, that's how I sort of feel about the game, and it's been a while since we've done that. I think Spurs, obviously, the last game we won at home, where we really managed to convert our dominance into goals. So hoping for that kind of performance, that we saw when we beat them 3-1 that time, when we were struggling in this similar position. And I do think a good start to the game is huge, because the home crowd, the pressure, the atmosphere that comes with it does have an impact. And I think we saw last season, scoring the first goal so important, and that's even more so at home, because it does turn everything in our favour to try and see it as an opportunity, rather than worrying about every mistake going the other way. We've got something to kind of protect and hold on to. So yeah, massively important we get off to a good start, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say the draw's not good enough, but then I suppose if we go on and actually beat Spurs and win some more games, then it's probably an okay result. But we can't keep saying that. We've got to actually win some games, and it feels like, I don't know, now it feels like moving time, Mikey. Do we realistically have to win this game, or is a draw okay if we go on from here?
Yeah, probably the latter. But you then look at the fixtures that we've got, and they, on paper, become increasingly more difficult. But you made a good point a few minutes ago, Matt, that the team have got themselves up for big games. So I wouldn't completely write it off if we don't get a good result here. But we are down to the last pickings now. This is the final straight. We've got to make our move now. Talking to Cheltenham horses, we're in the pack. We've got to do something. We've got to push for that finish line. I think just a quick sort of question to everybody in the chat as well, because I've been thinking as everyone's been talking. I think when we beat Fulham 3-1, I think it was in that first season, wasn't it, when Morgan had that amazing game? It must have been a similar time in the year to now. So I don't know whether everybody can cast their mind backs, but did you have more faith that team would stay up at that point, or this team would stay up? Because for me, it's the first team in the first season, which is bonkers, because this team on paper is a million times better. But I guess that's kind of where we're at. I always thought we'd sort of sneak over the line in that first season. I'm not as confident. So I do think
it was the second season, actually.
Was it? Okay, fair enough. But even those first, we've had 3 out of 4 seasons we've been battling relegation since we've been up. So there'll be points where we change in confidence. But I remember that Fulham game being quite pivotal and thinking, we've cracked it here. We're going to be okay. I don't think I've ever felt that this season. So they've got to show something in these last few games. The point at Man City was excellent, fantastic point, very unexpected. But it's only a really good point if they then back it up. Our next 3 games: Fulham, Tottenham, Burnley. Is that right? The next 3. So
Villa's in there before, I think.
Villa. Okay, so I think it's got to the stage where not must-win games, but certainly not a must-lose, and you've got to not lose to Tottenham. So it's a massive game Sunday. It's a huge game. Excuses are out the window. We've got what we've got. We've got the team that we've got, the manager that we've got, and we just need to chuck everything we've got at it and try and get the 3 points. But I am not In terms of my confidence levels, I'll be honest, it's low. I'm sorry. I wanted to be positive, but it is quite low, and I'm hoping that I'm wrong. And I'm hoping that they go out there and show me that I'm talking rubbish, and they win 2 out of the next 3 games, and then I'll calm down. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. But the first goal's huge on Sunday. It just is, because we just don't score many goals, do we? And as Dan just said, Fulham don't score many either. So for me, it's got a feeling of a 1-0 written all over it. I just don't know who to.
That game against Fulham where Morgan played so well, I think Forza did a display, didn't they? And it really inspired him. It was April 2024, so not a dissimilar time. We went into the game, we had lost 3 of the previous 5, lost 3, drawn 2, beat Fulham 3-1. And as another quirk, the next game was Spurs away, and we lost 3-1. So then we
just had the points deduction, hadn't we, as well? And I think we just dropped into the bottom 3 sort of for the first time. And then we had that performance, which might come around at some point this season as well.
Yeah, possibly. And then we finished the season pretty well with 2 wins out of the last 3. Well, they were against Sheffield United and Burnley, who were terrible and got relegated, and that's part of the problem this season. I was put a comment on screen. Where was it? Old team had more fighting spirit. A lot of people are saying that, Emily. This is the challenge for the players, isn't it? To show that. Yes, they can do well against City. Yes, they can do well against Liverpool and Arsenal performance-wise. They've really got to put up or shut up now, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, we know the talent we've got in our squad, and we know who are the talented players that are potentially going to leave no matter what happens to us at the end of this season. But I mean, I don't know how many times we need to keep saying this. We need someone that can put the ball in the back of the net. Yes, Morgan's come up trumps in some of the games, and a few others have sort of scored a few goals. But we're just not those games that, like in those first couple of seasons when our backs were against the wall, we were the underdog. They kind of fought like it was us playing, but with the talent. Do you know what I mean? They'd run through brick walls, and it doesn't feel like that's quite there. The last few games, barring last night, I felt like Morgan Gibbs-White has really done that, and he's really led the team well. But my worry is, can they do it every single game? And I find it really frustrating that someone said in the comments, and I kind of agree, when they turned up against Man City, was that them kind of showing Pep what they could do? We'll do it for every game, because this is all about our Premier League survival here. And actually, forget about fatigue, forget about anything else, forget about where you're going at the end of the season. The players need to turn up. Because at the moment, our only option is to band together and us to support the team, them to really appreciate that they're playing for Nottingham Forest and that we need to stay up and we want to be a Premier League club. And I really hope they know that. And I think what doesn't help now as well is in those earlier seasons, we had the likes of Joe Worrell and Ryan Yates in and around the first team. And I know Ryan Yates is still the club captain, but he's a bit part at best now, isn't he? So we haven't got that sort of Nottingham spirit in the dressing room that can explain exactly what this means to us. Yeah, so I can't even remember what the question was, but basically...
Put up or shut up.
Put up or shut up, play football, play for the badge, play for us fans, play for those people that come in, week out. And it's all right in press conferences telling us that, you're working as hard as you can. Well, show it on the pitch. Show it on the pitch. Stop playing stupid, pretty football. I couldn't care less how pretty the football is. Get the ball in the back of the net and stop conceding.
It's like having Sean Dyche on the podcast.
I know. I feel like I'm his. I've been
fan face cream.
Do you know what I mean?
Fan face cream.
I just think, honestly, don't get me wrong, I love watching good football, don't we all? But right now, we need to score goals. And fanning about with it, keep going back and forth and tippy-tappy is not going to win us games at the moment. And it certainly didn't last night, and it's not going to against Fulham. So just...
We'll come on to team news next. Anna's right. It was the shut the noise out tifo. That was the one. Maybe they need to do that. I don't know. Just stop listening to people like me and just play football and score goals. I don't know. Right. Let's go on to team selection. 4 different teams, 4 different formations, which is never a particularly good sign of how things are. So we'll just do them in whatever their order they're in on the screen. Dan, yours was first in the pot. So Sells in goal. All these, by the way, assume Jair Cunha's out. There's no pre-match press conference. Pereira did it last night. I don't think anything's come out, but it didn't look good, if we're honest. So I would be absolutely shocked if he plays in this game, and I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't play again this season, sadly. Sells in goal, Williams, Milenkovic, Murillo, Nets in a back four, Dominguez, Sangare, Anderson in a three, and then Gibbs White, Hudson-Odoi in support of Igor Jesus up front. Dan, talk us through your thoughts. Obviously, Ola Aina is a conspicuous absence in that. So what's your thinking?
So look, the back four is because I don't think if Jair's not going to be available, is he? So I don't trust Morato to come in and play the same role in the back three, and I wouldn't see Aina playing that role for me, probably especially against like a Fulham style of side. So I've gone for the back four. My reason is that he played 90 minutes, didn't he, last night? And he always looks knackered anyway after 60 minutes. And I just think it would be too much to ask for him to start this game again. And I also think he's just switches off a bit too often for me at the minute. And that's not necessarily something that obviously affects the whole game. But I just think back, there's so many times where our problems have come in that relationship between him and Milenkovic on the right-hand side. Even like the Liverpool goals, that there was that lack of communication. That there's a few tall lads at the back post here with me. You need to come over and deal with it, and it's that little bit of switch off. I feel like at Leeds there was that switch off in communication where they weren't tracking the players. I know he's on the other side of the pitch then and dealing with a different centre back, but I just think there's that bit of tiredness showing through, and I think he's someone that suffers the most from playing the sort of 2 games a week that we've been doing. So I think. What was the point of signing Luca Nets if we weren't going to play him in these games? Because he's not in the Europa squad, so he's the freshest of everybody, and he's played at a level where we know he can perform. The worry is that potentially he's coming up against Harry Wilson, who is obviously a good player, but he's not like a physically dominant player that's going to take somebody on in close quarters all the time. He's more of the kind of player that gets on the end of things, and he's very clinical. So that could happen to anybody. But I think one-on-one, you still hope that Nets can do a job. But it's a gamble. And we're sort of a little bit limited in the fullback options, as we know. But I'd like to try it. I'd like to see it in this game. And then the rest of the team, the other dilemma I had is which other winger do I pick other than Hudson-Odoi? And again, they played a lot of minutes last night. But I just didn't have confidence in any of the other winger options, assuming obviously Ndoi's still out injured with a knock, which doesn't help. Bakwa for me isn't, if we knew we were going to be in a relegation battle, I don't think he's the kind of player you sign to play in a relegation battle. It's more someone that you can develop and bring into a good team that's doing well and add a bit of flair. So yeah, it became difficult. So then I thought, well, I'm going to have to play the sort of midfield 3 and then have that fluidity again with Gibbs White and Dominguez kind of switching around, moving around, trying to find the spaces to get in behind and stick with Igor Jesus for the start of this game, because again, I think we'll have the ball and we'll be trying to push on to quite a compact defence of Fulham. And I just think Taiwo struggles in those scenarios. Luca, we've seen. And I tell you the one thing, when you talked about recruitment, the more we see that back 3 formation that we tried last night, the more I just think Callum Mwenda would be absolutely ideal to play off Jesus as one of those front 3, because I think Jesus does really well dropping into the little pocket of space, a good layoff to Gibbs White or something like that, and then if you had Callum Mwenda running off the defensive line into the space to kind of get on the end of those balls and finish around the box, he'd be absolutely perfect for that. And that kind of left me annoyed, because I've never been one that's sort of clamoring for him to play because it didn't suit our style before. But the more you see that formation, the more you think he would be the perfect alternative, whereas Luca, he's only going to offer us something if we're chasing a game with 5-10 minutes to go, unfortunately. So I've got to start Jesus in this one. Yeah,
that goes back to what I was saying about right player, wrong manager, or wrong player, right manager. It's all gone wrong all season. It just plays into the further annoyance of it all. Just on Aina, Mikey, my issue isn't with starting Aina, it's that we just constantly play him for 90 minutes and he's constantly absolutely gassed after 60 or 70, and then he does switch off more than once. Dan referenced the Liverpool game against City when Murillo cleared off the line. Ola Aina was down on the ground for ages, and then we saw it last night as well. So I don't know if it's that he's a bad defender. It's that he switches off, he's knackered, and to me, he shouldn't be playing all these minutes. So that's where I'm at on Aina. What do you make of him since this season, especially since he's come back from his injury?
Yeah, it's a real tough one, isn't it? Because I think that's a fair comment, and that's what I've seen watching him this season. Is it does get to the last third of a game, and him and a few others actually look like they're absolutely goosed, and they don't have anything more to give. And obviously, that's physical tiredness and probably mental tiredness. I guess where I'm at is not quite where Dan's at right now, because I remember how much we missed him when he wasn't in the team, and he is one of the leaders. And we are at a stage now where we have to play what we consider our best team and our best formation. And I'll just pivot just slightly. If you look at our relegation rivals, and we have to consider this now, West Ham, 4-2-3-1, we can all name their team. Bowen, Somerville, Tati up front. Leeds, back three. Aronson behind Calvert-Lewin. Right, they've nailed it. They know what they're about. Us and Tottenham are still faffing around. We've given 4 different formations here. The Tottenham podcast will be doing the same. They ain't got a clue what they're playing. So that says a lot. And it says a lot that we're questioning players that were linked with Man City last season because of all the turmoil that we've been in. So for me, it is about managing Ola's minutes. There is clearly an issue there at the back end of games, but I don't think I'm at the stage now where I'm removing from the team, because I just think he is, when it gets into the trenches and we are there, I think you look at your leaders, and I think he is one. So I'd still stick with him at the moment.
Let's go on to Emily's team, and we'll discuss different individuals as we go through them all. Sells in goal: Aina, Milenkovic, Murillo, Williams. Then a 3-man midfield: Sangare, Dominguez, Anderson, and then 2 in behind: Jesus, Gibbs White, and Hudson-Odoi. So not playing wingers in the 4-2-3-1, Emily. That's what you've got, an extra man in midfield, basically. So what's your thinking?
Well, I'm sticking with Aina for the kind of the reasons that Mikey said. I'm probably Ola Aina's biggest fan, and I know he's not up to his best at the moment, but his experience and his ability when he's doing well, I think we need that in the final run, and we need really experienced cool heads, and he's a cool head. He made a mistake last night and he wasn't at his best last night, I get that, but I'm keeping him in. I agree also with Dan. I think if João Cunha hadn't been injured last night, he's in for a shout. I've packed the midfield because I just feel like that is where we keep losing the ball, and that's where we keep getting overrun. And for me, Hutchinson is not a starter at the moment for Forest. He is a luxury 70-minute man, come on and impact the game once the opposition defenders are tired, get that pace on. He just looked, I know it's Europa, so it's difficult to say, but he just felt lost again last night in moments, and it felt like the pressure was too much for him. In an ideal world, I wouldn't be starting Jesus, but I don't know if we've got other options. I know some people in the chat are suggesting Tyrell Wawonyi, but I'm not sure if that's the answer. And I think the rest of the team just speaks for itself, really. I thought Dominguez did okay last night, actually, which is another reason why he's in there. I just think we've got to be harder to beat. But I still, looking at the team that I've picked, I still don't necessarily see where the goals come from, to be honest, which is a bit depressing. But I feel that team will make us harder to beat.
I must admit, I was sorely tempted, Dan, to put Taiwo in my team. Just the reason I didn't is because Jesus, he does do a lot of stuff well, and Taiwo's still only got 1 goal in 2 years or something. So it's not the case that's the bigger factor as much as anything. Are you tempted to leave Jesus out, or do you stick with him because he does have attributes and we have to just play off him and rely on other players to score goals in that sense?
Yeah, and we're starting to see those little link-ups work better than they did before. Like there was a couple of moves last night, 2 or 3, where he did the step over and he was on the same wavelength as those players. But what he does is he ends up on the halfway line and the ball's gone past him, and then he's trying to catch up, or he's out wide and there's not that threat in the box. No, it's obviously that's a deliberate ploy. The trouble is that puts the emphasis on Hudson-Odoi or Gibbs White or Anderson to take their chance once they're in and around the area, which they did at Man City. And then last night, they didn't last night. I mean, that chance for Anderson where he took on the players he needed to and created the space and then rolled it to their keepers, that was the difference last night. So he does have to play. I just think with Taiwo, if you put him in a game where you're going to have the ball, but you're going to be in a really tight game where the other team's in their sort of structure, and he's got to have a really tight touch and play off, quick 1-2s and that sort of stuff. I don't think that's his game. his Brentford goal that was mentioned in the chat is what Taiwo offers, and that's what he offered in the first season because we needed it, because we'd sit in and he'd be our outlet. I don't think this game will go that way to start with. Obviously, if we go one up, then maybe that's the time to bring him on because he can worry them that way. But otherwise, I think you've got to have some faith in Jesus, making a couple more runs. That's what's missing. It's not his technical ability. It's just that lack of a little run in the box or something that goes into a space that we just don't see. And it's the same with Luca as well. Like last night, really frustrating that he just stood still so many times when the ball was around the box rather than something across the defender to try and get a toe on it or whatever. So yeah, I think that's where I'm at.
Yeah, all Luca does, he peels off to the back post and waits for the header, and he offers. I've never seen a player offer nothing else. I mean, it's fair enough. He's 6'7", and we should actually cross it to him. But yeah, it's pretty frustrating. I would get Taiwo on after an hour or something. I think he just needs minutes, depending on the game state. Was
Luca on the pitch for it was a second half corner?
That a question? Yeah, he was.
No,
yeah.
and Anderson, a corner from the Brian Clough side. Corner comes in and it loops in, and literally their goalkeeper just had to go like that.
Yeah.
And was Luca on the pitch then?
That, yeah.
He was on the back post.
He was the nearest player to the keeper.
I mean, seriously. How has that happened in a professional football game? You'd see that in the Sunday League, wouldn't you? I mean, seriously. That just summed up our night, didn't it? That, I think they had already gone 1-0 up at this point, and we just yeah, and I was like, Luca, where are you? What are you doing? Where are you moving? Oh, you're not there. Right, thanks. So yeah, anyway, I'll shut up now.
It wasn't just no one should ever say that on this podcast. It wasn't just Luca. It was that whole corner. We did the whole Arsenal thing or whatever it is, and then no one would challenge for it. The keeper, he didn't claim it. This isn't a good camera. He didn't claim it high at the highest point. He claimed it when it was in front of his face.
It was like this. It was like
yeah.
Oh, there you go. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
I could have caught that ball.
Well, Matt Sells does have problems from corners, so you never know. We'll wait for next season. Right. Mikey, back to the traditional 4-2-3-1. Sells in goal, Aina, Milenkovic, Murillo, Williams, Anderson, Sangare, Hutchinson and Hudson-Odoi wide, Gibbs White and Igor Jesus. Back to the old tried and tested, Mikey. Is that out of necessity because of injuries to Cunha, or are you wanting to see this regardless?
Yeah, all of the above. And just quickly on set pieces, our set pieces have been abject at best. And I think it was that one, or it might have been the one before where, and I hate digging out players, but I think one of our centre backs and Luca was stood like 2 yards out. I mean, just stand further back and attack the ball. I mean, honestly, it's abject. Anyway, back to the formation. I've gone with tried and tested because I said on the podcast the other week, I just think it's last 10 games, just get what they know, and you try and test a formation on the pitch and what you consider to be your best team and with the best chance of scoring a goal and scoring first, because we have to score first. So I take the points around some of these players not necessarily being inked in as first choice, but I'm just thinking, what team can I get on that pitch that will score a goal in the first half and put us 1-0 up? And that was purely my thinking. I may have gone to a back three if Cunha was fit. I'm not keen on having Aina as part of that back three, and I'm certainly not keen on playing Morato at all. So it has to be a back four for me, and then you just play the team that has, I think, shown the most fluidity throughout the season. I'm pretty sure that was it might have been at least 5 of the 6 that played against Liverpool and played them off the park for 60 minutes, that front 6. So you're just hoping for something similar and a spark, and somebody to bundle the ball in with a backside or something. But I genuinely feel we have to take the lead in this game. I feel that team and that shape gives us the best opportunity. And then you just play game state. One shout out, Dominguez, sorry. Yeah, I thought he was good last night, and I feel really bad removing him from the team. It's just purely horses for courses, going to a 4 because Cunha's not in. But Dominguez is going to play a key role, I think, for the back end of the season. Because if you look at those last 6 games in particular, especially the tricky away games, I think Dominguez will come into his own then. So for me, he misses out starting on this one, but I think he's one of the crucial 4 or 5 players that could get us over the line. But yeah, it's purely how can we get the first goal, Matt? That was my thinking.
Just on this Hutchinson thing then, but people I assume have seen it about. He did an interview post-match with TNT. The reporter asked him about the rain, and he said, "Oh yeah, my face cream was running," and it's really blown up. And I don't get it. People are so angry about everything. Like, it's just a bit of a silly comment. He probably shouldn't have said it, but really, who cares? I mean, I know I've got grey hair, but when I was about his age, I did not have grey hair, and I had hair gel in my hair, and everyone had hair gel. And if you played football, it ran, and no one cared then. I don't know, maybe it's a generational thing, but if he was playing well, it always comes back to this. If he was playing well, no one would give a shit about his face cream or anything. So, I think it all comes back to that, just frustration. But surely there's bigger things to be angry about than a player's makeup routine, because that's the modern footballer, I think.
To me, he comes across as very, in terms of interviews, I think he comes across as probably not really media trained yet. Very young, very inexperienced, very naive, but actually a really decent young lad. And, it's easy, isn't it, to pick on him and make a big joke about him. And I'm sure there'll be memes and all sorts. But I kind of admire him for that. That probably was the reality, but maybe he shouldn't have said that. And I think Omari Hutchinson he feels like a developing player. He feels like a player that if we had the time and the space to be able to develop him, you would slowly build him into the team. But I just don't think he's necessarily a player for now. But yeah, the face cream thing was funny. He's probably just really embarrassed by that. I remember
getting absolutely murdered at training today about it, isn't he? I'm sure.
Well, he's an easy target, isn't he? Did you see? I think it was on one of the players' social media. It was the Fenerbahce, obviously two-legged knockout tie, and he said he was pleased that they'd got 3 points. And one of the players said to him, "You don't get 3 points in a knockout, mate." And he was like, "Oh yeah." So he's clearly just a bit young and naive, isn't he? He's like the easy target, the little brother that we all take the mickey out of. So God bless him.
Yeah,
can I add something to that quickly?
If you want to, yeah.
Doesn't Virgil van Dijk advertise Nivea or something? So if one of the best defenders in the world does it, then do you know what it is? Right, he's our record signing. He's the guy that we're pinning a lot of our hopes on to create something. We're struggling as a team. We can't score a goal, and everything's just blown up. So half of me gets the frustration. You're thinking, "Oh, for God's sake, come on!" But I just think there are fundamentally more bigger issues that we have to deal with right now rather than something like that. And they will take the piss out of him at training. But, let's hope he turns up on Sunday, scores a couple of goals, and then everybody forget about it. But things are enhanced when the pressure is on and when you're struggling and little things blow up. And he may even have made it as a joke, I don't know. But even still, I mean, come on, we can't score at home. We've won 3 home games in the season. So let's all focus on that rather than his face cream. I just thought it was funny, but that's just me.
If he's smart, he'll monetize it now. If he has a good game against Fulham and scores a couple of goals, he'll be holding up the brand. And the funny thing with these daft little things is, though, you get the flip side of it in that I think the Athletic said that Dyche did the thing of banning gloves and hats and all that in training. It's like sometimes people just go like, that's not going to make any difference to whether or not you're a good football team or not. So like sometimes people do go down these daft things of like picking up on the stuff around football. Like what matters is doing all the training, doing it right, whether you're warm or cold or whatever, doesn't matter. And whether you're wearing face cream doesn't matter in the long run. I don't think we're going to be remembering this moment as the reason we went down, I suspect.
Yeah, I found the Dyche ban silly as well, to be honest. It must be an age. I remember when was it Yaya Toure wore a snood or something. I thought that's ridiculous. Just get on with it. But now I wouldn't care if I saw that. It's just the way society evolves, I guess. As Jonathan says, he can wear all the face cream if he wants, if he scores versus Fulham. So yeah, hopefully he does. Right, we'll get back to football, and before we wrap things up, I'll just do my team quickly. Right. I have stuck with, hang on, I should probably change the screen setup. I feel like the back three is still, I think we look better as a back three under Pereira. So I've got Sells in goal, Aina, Milenkovic, Murillo as the back three, and I'll talk about Aina. Williams, Sangare, Anderson and Nets as the sort of midfield four. Gibbs White and Hudson-Odoi in behind Jesus. I can't pick Morato. I just think defenders who don't head the ball just worry me a bit too much. So it can't be him. I feel like this box midfield, helps us. I think our wingers just play too wide all the time in this 4-2-3-1. So if we can get a couple of players closer to Jesus, I think it helps. Gibbs White can drop into midfield and hopefully we don't get outnumbered. So it feels like it works. Mikey's right. We did play very well against Liverpool with the 4-2-3-1. So I'm not against it. Aina is the right centre back. I think it can work. When Pereira was at Wolves, we played Matt Doherty as the right centre back, and that role involves getting forwards a bit, supporting the right-sided player. So him and Williams can be all right, I think, on that side. The worry, I suppose, is, as Dan referenced, Luca Netz versus Harry Wilson. I'd rather have Nico Williams versus Harry Wilson because he obviously knows his game inside out. But this avoids getting Morato in the team. I think it keeps the foundations that worked v City look decent v Brighton. So, and I feel like, perversely, I think it makes us more likely to score goals playing a back three than a back four because we get men around Jesus. In theory, hopefully this makes Callum Hudson-Odoi not hug the touchline and check back and knock it back to Elliot Anderson to knock it to Nico Williams and not cross the ball in. Hopefully it changes the dynamic a little bit. So that's my formation personally. Dan, is it mental? I ask you because you did bits on Pereira before he joined us. Could this team suit with Aina as the right-sided centre-back, or is it stupid?
No, it definitely can. I suppose where I think actually our two best performances under Pereira were Fenerbahce away and Liverpool at home overall. You know, Man City is a certain type of game where you have to potentially play those extra defenders. But we took the game to Liverpool with the back four. And we took the game to Fenerbahce with the back four. And I think we're going to have to take the game to Fulham to win it rather than just hope for a draw. So that's the only reason I would stick potentially with the back four if you've not got Jair. Aina can definitely do the role, and he will have to run a bit less if he's doing that role as opposed to wing back or full back in terms of managing his minutes after playing 90 last night. So there's that positive to it as well. And I think Nets can offer quite a threat. I mean, it'd be interesting to actually have natural-sided width, actually putting crosses in a bit earlier, maybe with their natural foot as well in that formation you've got. So I'm sort of happy either way because I do agree we've looked good with the back three, and it is good to have both options. But I would say our best creative and threatening games were those first two under Pereira, which might be down to formation, or might just be down to the kind of the new manager bounce sort of freedom stuff, which is dwindling a little bit. And it is worth saying, I think there was a bit of controversy about Steve Hodges' comments on Radio Nottingham last night after the game as well, weren't there, in terms of the sort of urgency of this game. But it does feel like we are on that precipice of the kind of new manager bounce needing a bit of a boost after last night in terms of getting something out of this game and another good performance, I think.
Yeah, I've not heard Steve's comments. I wouldn't go in on them too much. I think people saying it was intimated online that he suggested that Pereira could be under pressure if we lose. So he said, so I don't want to go in on that, but personally, I don't think so. I think Pereira's doing actually an okay job, and unless it's like the last 2 games or 3 games and it's completely last chance saloon, I'd stick with Pereira as it's going right now. Right, we'll wrap things up in one moment. Just before that, quick word. Why's that got the music on? Okay, I might have to try and. Now the video gets done for copyright, and it's a real pain in the ass. I might not play that out. I might just.
Matt, you're so slick.
I thought it off in editing. Right, I'm going to try and take the sound off while we keep talking and do it at the end. The other games to mention, Mikey, are City v West Ham, Liverpool v Spurs, Leeds versus Palace. I think it's at Ellen Road. I'll check that. And yet again, and I've got my hands gone all tense because just saying it. We've got to do something and take advantage of teams having harder fixtures. Maybe the other team get something, then fair play to them if they do. I'm thinking of Spurs and Liverpool there, but we can't keep being given these opportunities and come out of it at 6:30 on a Sunday just feeling pissed off and fed up again, can we?
No. This is actually, in boxing they call it the championship rounds, don't they? 9, 10, 11, 12. This is like round 11. We're in trouble. I'm not saying we need a knockout, but we need to win the last 2 rounds. So there's only so many chances we're going to get. I'm sure everybody's done what I've done, and you've even done it on the podcast, Matt, where you line up all the fixtures of all the teams and you think, oh, maybe. This is out opportunity where most of us have gone, this is our chance to do it. That is for two reasons. One, because the fixtures in theory look a tad easier in inverted commas than maybe a Man United or a Chelsea away that we've got coming up. But conversely, it's who the opposition are playing as well. A lot of them have got really, really tough games. So we need to come out of this 3 or 4 week stretch with a bit of a lead, I think, which is why each game is absolutely crucial. So, yeah, there's only so many times you're going to have a chance to say that again, Matt. I think 1, maybe 2 times. And if it hasn't happened, then we are in god-awful trouble. So Sunday's just massive. It's the biggest game, as will Tottenham be the biggest game. But until we start scoring some goals and putting some wins on the board, this is going to drag on and on and on. And I wouldn't put it against, maybe not Tottenham, but I wouldn't put it against West Ham to put up a scrap against Man City, because they are probably the form team. And I think if you look at the last few games, I think they're 11th or something in the form table. So they're absolutely fine. So this is the chance, Matt. Everybody knows it. We all know it. The next couple of weeks is going to define what we do. Simple as that.
Yeah. I mean, West Ham, they are missing Somerville, which I think is a big loss for them. But City had a bad result in the week against Madrid. So I don't know. Are you terrified of Sunday, Emily? Or are you feeling like, let's embrace the opportunity? I guess the answer is what the players do more than what you do. But how are you feeling about it?
I'm nervous. I feel like I'd be surprised if West Ham and Tottenham get anything out of their respective games this weekend. But you never know with the Premier League this season, because it feels like anyone can beat anyone. But I would say I feel just as confident that we might not win on Sunday. In fact, I don't feel that we will win on Sunday against Fulham because of our form against them. Having said that, when we got that amazing win a couple of years ago, when I was actually abroad at the time, so I remember watching it abroad, that was a game where we weren't really expecting to get much out of it. So you never know. I don't think I feel nervous. I'm currently in that state of feeling a little bit resigned. I need to get a grip, don't I, and just think, yeah, we can do it on Sunday. But I think come Sunday, I'll probably feel the pressure. But at the moment, I wouldn't say I feel confident, because our home form's terrible and our form against Fulham's not the best. But I agree with both of you that our luck's going to run out soon. And one of these weekends, all the teams below us and around us are going to get results. And we can't just go, oh, it's fine because we're still 17th and we're, out of the bottom 3 on goal difference. And I just hope it's not this weekend, because this is the weekend that you'd hope that Man City can beat West Ham and that Liverpool can hopefully beat Tottenham. And you'd hope that Man City, after the draw against us, which was disappointing, they obviously had the Champions League defeat in the week, they're going to want to fight back. And what you sometimes find with Man City is after a couple of disappointing results, they come and batter a team. So let's hope that's West Ham.
Hopefully so.
This weekend.
I cut you off a little bit there because I realise Mikey's got to go at 1:29. So we'll let Mikey go, then we'll give Dan the last word. Mikey, thanks very much.
Thank you. And I'll just say, just before I go really quickly, Fulham, Tottenham, Villa, Burnley, we win 3 out of that 4, we'll stay up. Simple as that. It is possible. I do not give us much hope if we don't. would be my view. And just thanks to just a few people, Sally and Graham and everybody that sponsored me as well on the on my run. So thanks everybody, and I'll chat to you soon. Thank you.
Bye, Mikey.
I've got to sponsor him as well. I better do that at some point.
Remember. See you later, guys.
I know. I keep forgetting. I have to. I must do it. I'll come to Dan in 1 second. Let me just hit play on this video and just hope it works. And I've taken the sound off while they were talking. Here we go. Yes. Well, basic level of competence. Well done, mate. Thanks very much to Home Move Estate Agents. This property is Camborne Drive in Nottingham. Guide price 170 to 180,000. Spacious corner plot with outdoor extra space, says Ben. 2 good sized bedrooms. You can make a third. It's got solar panels owned outright. It's got off-street parking, and it's got a garage. And according to Ben, this home is perfect for first-time buyers, small families, or investors seeking a property with room to grow. No one would chain, so you can move in and start making it your own way right away. So do click the link in the description to check that out, whether you're watching or listening. And thanks to those guys as ever. Right, Dan, final word to you before we go. Anything you want to add?
No, not really. I think you talk about winning these weeks of when other teams have difficult games and all that. I get it. I do get it. Obviously, as a fan, you get it. But as a player, as a team, and end of the day, it just matters where you end up at the end of the season, right? It is, the target hasn't changed. 10 or 11 wins. We've got 7. Leeds have only got 7. West Ham have only got 7. It's whoever gets to that race to sort of 10, 11 wins if you want to feel comfortable. But if we get to 11 wins by the end of the season, if we win the last 3 or whatever, we probably stay up. So it's never over, unfortunately, and that works both ways, even if we do sort of win one game week. So I think we've just got to try and see each game on its own. Fulham really difficult, but remember that we had a great performance against Man City. That's why last night was disappointing, because it breaks that momentum. But we were great in that game. So let's hope that that switch is flicked back and we really take the game to Fulham, I think, on Sunday.
Good man. I realised I was meant to publicise some charity stuff today or all week, and I've totally forgotten to do it. So I apologise. I think it was Sam on Discord. If it's still before the event, I will definitely do it next week, Sam. So sorry for that. Right, we're back tomorrow. We'll have an opposition preview with Russ from College Talks to get the Fulham point of view. Post-match show on Sunday with Fothers, Temps and Ruby. And then Monday, lunchtime with Franz. Greg is going to do a rare lunchtime one. And I think Pete's going to join us as well. So stuff is planned in, and then it's a big game. Looking forward to Europe and that big old Spurs game. Right, Emily, thank you very much.
Thank you, and apologies for being a little bit negative today. It's not my normal demeanour. I'm okay. We will be okay, everybody.
It's bad if Emily's broken, isn't it? Yeah.
Just a wobble. Should we just call it a little wee wobble? I'll be all right. Beat Fulham on Sunday, all will be good.
It will feel like that. It will feel like so different if we just win a Premier League game. Please, it would feel a lot different.
Just score a goal. Score a goal would be great, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it would. Oh God, it would certainly help. Yeah, Dan, thank you very much.
No, thank you. It is nervous, it is tense, but it's very Foresty, isn't it? It wouldn't be a Forest season without this feeling of some kind of over the top feeling at this point of the season, I think. So still enjoy it, even though it is sort of horrible at times as we go.
Certainly is. Yeah, 3 of the last 4 seasons have been this, so we should be well used to it. Certainly, yeah. Right, just before you go, 300 people with us, so do hit like before you go and subscribe. That'd be lovely. Or hit like and subscribe if you're listening after the event. Thanks for your company. If we don't see you tomorrow, we shall see you soon.